What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, man. We're gonna talk about this Anthony Joshua, Jarell Big Baby Miller, specifically Jarell Big Baby Miller testing positive for a performance-enhancing drug, and the absolutely hypocritical reaction that, and honestly nonsensical reaction that Eddie Hearn has to the use of PEDs in America. And also going to talk about this Luis Ortiz thing and who the replacement for this fight, for Anthony Joshua in this fight could be. Before I do that though, I want to welcome you back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And that way you'll be notified of when we release more videos. We pretty much release videos every day. And also you'll know when we do our live streams, which we do in the mornings, Monday through Friday. Start time around 10:45 to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Also, we have a show in the mornings on Sunday called OG Boxing Talk with myself, Blue Blood Boxing, and KQKC Boxing. Also, check out the Patreon. We got a lot of really good stuff on the Patreon for people who are longtime subscribers. Now, let's get into this, man. Eddie Hearn talks about the problem of PEDs in America and how there's all kind of people who are not getting tested in America, and basically making it sound as if PEDs or performance enhancing drugs is some problem that is extra rampant in the United States as opposed to elsewhere, which is absolutely ridiculous. And you hear this more and more in the comment section. Jarell Big Baby Miller tests positive for something, and now that's what American fighters do. American fighters are on steroids, rapidly on steroids. Is that the excuse that you're making for why we got so many world champions? Is because steroids are rampant? We've always had a bunch of world champions. Always. However, I find that funny because of the number of people that have tested positive in the UK and in Europe in general. But yet, I've not heard people in America really saying that, oh man, the UK boxers, every time that somebody tests positive in the UK, that this is something that steroids or PEDs, whatever the form of the performance enhancing drug, is somehow more prevalent there than it is anywhere else. You have guys like that I'm gonna call him Little Muhammad Ali, little boxer tested positive. Kid Galahad, a couple years tested positive. Billy Joe Saunders has tested positive. Dillian White has tested positive. Tyson Fury has tested positive. Huey Fury has tested positive. It's not unusual at all for somebody from the UK to test positive for performance enhancing drugs. And I find it funny that when somebody comes to the United States, and then it's odd to use an example of somebody getting caught using performance enhancing drugs when the fight's in America as an example of Americans not testing, of not having proper performance enhancing drug tests. Now, I tell you, I 100% believe that performance enhancing drug is rampant in boxing, and I think it's rampant everywhere. Everywhere, UK, the US, Mexico, wherever somebody has enough money and they're hungry enough to try to find some way to get an advantage, they're going to use it. So I'm clearly not saying that there's not the use of performance enhancing drugs in the United States. I don't doubt that there is. I just find that it's really funny that you would use an example of somebody getting caught as pointing out the problem being in America. He got caught. There was he tested positive. As a result of the testing that took place in the United States, that fight is not going to take place. And that has happened. That's happened several times to Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder is in the United States, and when he has enhanced testing protocols, the people are getting caught. So if you're going to use it, so my thing is, he must be using the fact that there's a lot of people that fight that don't get caught as a reason to believe that there's not enough testing. Well, wouldn't that also apply to the UK? If you have that means every time somebody's not caught, then that must be an example of them not being enough testing. People are tested by state commissions in the United States. The problem is that you have people that are going to be able to cheat the system. And it's typically, I believe, people that have enough money to find and hire people to work around those things. But hey man, if the promoters want to pay for the testing, then that's how people are going to get caught. But trying to put that on America, man, that's absolutely any more so than anywhere else is absolutely ridiculous, man. Lucas Brown, I think, is Australian. I'm pretty sure Lucas Brown is Australian. He tested positive. They kicked out, I think, the US Olympics kicked out the entire country of Russia because so many people were testing positive. There are people that get tested positive for performance enhancing drugs in soccer or football, whatever they call it over there. There's people that get the cyclists in the Tour de France. It's like, man, the rumor is most of those guys are on something. But why would you specifically try to spotlight America as if it's any different than anywhere else in the world? There's a lot of cheaters out there. And Jarell Big Baby Miller, provided his B sample and all that stuff comes through, I haven't heard about that, but I have no reason to believe that he didn't test positive. It's a good thing that he got caught. It's a good thing that Anthony Joshua didn't have to get in there with somebody that was dirty. But I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he's from the United States of America, and like we have some special problem. The reason why I think that that many people in the comment section are using that stuff is because you got to make some excuse for why the fact is that a lot of your boxers don't do very well when they come to the United States and fight. And that has a lot less to do with performance enhancing drugs than it has to do with the skill level of the boxers themselves. They're just not as skilled across the board. It's not performance enhancing drugs that are leading guys like Anthony Corrala to get the brakes beaten off of him in a ridiculous mismatch against Vasily Lomachenko. He's just not skilled enough. Didn't throw enough punches. Was that the problem with that fight? Anthony Corrala could have been on something. It still wouldn't have mattered if you don't throw a punch. But anyway, I just think that it is mighty convenient how when somebody gets caught for performance enhancing drugs by being tested, that somehow is proof that there's not enough testing, because you're making the assumption that there's a lot of people that are not, that are just not getting caught because Jarell Big Baby, and this is the second time Jarell Big Baby Miller got caught. On top of it, this isn't the first time. Why would you, if you didn't want to do it, you shouldn't even be surprised that he tested positive for something. He's already been suspended. He already got suspended for testing positive for performance enhancing drugs. Just like Alexander Povetkin had tested positive for performance enhancing drugs, and Anthony Joshua fought him. Same way Dillian White got tested for performance enhancing drugs, and he was in negotiations to fight him. So the use of performance enhancing drugs is, man, come on, let's not do that. But Eddie Hearn never stops putting his foot in his mouth. Because another reason, man, if you're trying to promote in the United States, come on, man, why are you once again trying to crap on American boxers by making just a blanket statement about the problems of steroids or performance enhancing drugs in the United States, and not just saying that there's an immense problem with performance enhancing drugs in sports overall, boxing specifically, and also everywhere that there are boxing events where people have access to performance enhancing drugs. And he should be saying thank you to VADA. And I think Margaret Goodman is the chief person behind VADA. Thank you to Margaret Goodman for having a system that is consistently detecting performance enhancing drugs. That's what happened with Canelo Alvarez, who, by the way, is not American. He's Mexican, and he got busted. Well, yeah, he got busted by VADA. So I don't know, man. I just find it interesting, man, that somehow it's just, it's the great American problem and not just, the problem with boxing. But anyway, it is what it is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.